Hello everybody, it's Peter McLaughlin. This is Friday Live at 5. Had a few little glitches, had to switch out my computer. So hopefully you're able to see this. If you are, please put something in the comments so that I know I'm not talking into the void. But in the meantime, I guess I'll just go through my normal disclaimers. If you have any major physical, mental health issues, make sure that you see your licensed professional, psychologist, licensed counselor, MD, and so forth. I am a hypnotist and a life coach, so please take everything I say with a major grain of salt. Today we're going to be talking about spiritual hypnosis to resolve. Oh, cool. Thank you very much. I can see that people can see me. Sorry for the couple-minute delay. We're doing spiritual hypnosis to resolve stubborn problems. So I think all of us have probably reached a point in our life at one time or another, a lot of us may be going through this right now, where something is just not, you're not able to get on top of something. You've tried all these different things, and it could be weight loss, it could be something dealing with relationships, it could be something dealing with your finances, it could be anxiety or something else. But those are probably the real big ones. And when I work with clients, and I've been doing this for 16 years now, we always are working on what I would call the key to resolving any problem. This is what I put in my promo. What I would say is the key to resolving any problem, number one, is figuring out what is the root cause. You know, I mean, you can see the weed growing above the surface of the soil, but we all know that there's this root system that goes down into the soil, and that is where that weed was created. That is what the weed relies upon for its existence. And I don't mean to denigrate weeds, because I understand that, you know, we have decided, oh, this is a flower and that's a weed, and this is a good plant and that's a bad plant, and so forth. I mean, I don't mean to go too far off the rails here, but I was horrified years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer, when I was diagnosed with leukemia, and I realized that all of the dandelions growing in my field, in certain herbalistic circles and so forth, and natural healing circles, they say that that's really good to cleaning out your liver. And here I am trying to, you know, poison these dandelions out of existence. Anyway, finding the root of the problem is always paramount in my mind when I'm working with anyone on any particular problem that they're dealing with, any kind of symptom, because, you know, weight gain is a symptom of something deeper. Trouble in your relationships, especially if it's the same pattern that repeats itself over and over again, is a symptom of something much deeper. And the same with finances, the same with other issues. So we want to find what the root of that is. And I think one of the things that thwarts our culture in trying to resolve these things is that we have put ourselves in a very, very small box. You know, we say that we are primarily these physical bodies, that our consciousness depends upon our brain for its existence, that when we die, we cease to exist. Although then we have this whole thing with religion where, you know, people say, well, you don't cease to exist, you go to heaven, and it's considered normal to pray to God, but if God talks to you, you're considered insane, and now we have to put you on medication and put you away. We're kind of limited, I would say, in our conventional way of dealing with problems, of trying to resolve things. And when I'm working with clients, I'm looking at this larger spiritual picture, saying that you are an eternal spiritual being, that your consciousness is everything, that you have lived in other lifetimes, that you have made agreements, you have made arrangements with other souls, other spirits, before you were born into this lifetime. And so the root of the problem that you're dealing with could easily be something that occurred earlier in your present life, but it could easily be something that happened in a past lifetime. And it could even tie into something like karma. So what if you harmed someone in a past lifetime? And let's say you stole their money, or you were a very wealthy person, and maybe you dominated your workers or your slaves or whatever, and you didn't pay them anything, or you underpaid them, or you somehow abused them financially. That could be an example of a root cause of why you're struggling with finances, for example, in this lifetime. It could also be why you're struggling with a particular individual, because it may be that someone that you're living with in this lifetime, it's not your first rodeo, and that you've lived other lifetimes with them. And if you harm them in another lifetime, maybe this lifetime you're being harmed as a way of balancing the karma. So these are kinds of things that are really important to look at. So number one, I would say, the key to resolving all problems, really all problems, if you're dealing with a car, it seems to me, you want to figure out what the root cause is. You don't want to just install a fan to blow away the smoke. You want to find out what is causing the smoke in the first place. Fix that, and now you don't have a smoke problem. If you are dealing with a problem with a house, you don't want to just put paint over something like rotted wood. You want to get down deeper and find out, well, why is that wood rotted? Is the water problem that created the rotting wood still a thing? If it is, we have to resolve that, because that would then be the root problem. Then we'd have to fix the wood, and then we'd have to paint the wood, but now we wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. The second thing when resolving these stubborn problems, these things that don't seem to want to let go, is to realize that we live in a free will universe. And so on some level, and when I say some level, what I mean is on a spiritual level, it could be on an emotional level, it could be what we call the subconscious mind level, you are choosing to have this experience. And it could be that, I gave that example before of, let's say you abused people in a past lifetime. You had slaves, or you had workers that you treated poorly. It could be that you're punishing yourself, which I suppose is like a form of karma. And because we live in a free will universe, if you're punishing yourself, there isn't a force in the universe that can override your free will and force you to stop punishing yourself. But as you unwind a problem like that one, and you understand this is what's happening, and you go through a forgiveness or an atonement process, now you might be willing to forgive yourself and move forward. So I had on my other computer, I had it all laid out, but obviously that one didn't work. I got an email from one of our regulars, and I'm not sure if she's here today, but she was asking a question, and I'm going to see if I can recreate this question from my mind. She said, what do you do if you have all four issues, these stubborn issues? And when I say all four, it would be weight loss, relationships, anxiety, and finances. And what do you do if, like her, you've been dealing with these for 30 plus years? And she also went on to say that traditional counseling hasn't helped her at all. What do you do, and where do you start? So I would go right back to what I was saying before, which is, when you have a problem, it seems to me the most important thing to do, well, actually there's one step beforehand. One step beforehand is to have compassion for yourself, to realize that you're not a horrible person, that you are an eternal spirit, that if you were trying to solve a problem that your child were having, you wouldn't scream and yell at that child, you wouldn't call them names. You would start from compassion. So that's the very first place that I would start. I would start with compassion. I would start with self-love and just say, okay, this is where I am, and there must be a reason for having these issues that just won't seem to go away. I mean, when anything bad happens in our society, we typically ask the question, why me? Why did I have to suffer this? When I was diagnosed with cancer, that's what I asked. Why me? Why did I have this problem? How come it wasn't someone else who is obese? How come it wasn't somebody else who drinks every night? How come it wasn't someone else who smokes 3 packs of cigarettes a day? It's a normal question for us to ask, but I feel like we ask it in almost a rhetorical aspect. It's not like we're expecting an answer. And I think that after compassion, that is the right question to ask, but we have to learn how to receive these answers so that we can understand what the root cause of whatever the symptom is that's plaguing us. So for you, Debbie, I would say start with compassion. Start right there. That has to be the foundation of everything that occurs afterwards and while it's occurring. Kind of a self-love, a self-acceptance, an understanding that every problem has a root cause. Nothing occurs in a vacuum. And then secondly, move into understanding the root cause. And that's embedded in that question of why did this happen? Why me? Now people are going to say, how am I going to figure that out? Well, there's a variety of different methods that you can use to do this. On these broadcasts, I always talk about using a pendulum. Pendulum looks like this. It represents an ideomotor tool that is a way of communicating with your subconscious mind through micro movements in your body that you can't see and you can't feel. And you often get answers that you're not even expecting, which is really compelling to me. And I use this tool with every one of my clients, with them holding it, so that we can pinpoint what's going on for them. So that's a super, super good tool to help you understand what's going on at the root level. And if you want to learn how to use one, I've got a video on my channel, BlueSky Hypnosis. Subscribe if you haven't, that teaches you how to use it. The second thing that you could do is you could use muscle testing. Sometimes muscle testing, or it's called kinesiology, can be used with two people. There's a way of using it just with one person. So one of the methods that people use is they push their index finger and their thumb together, and then they put the same two fingers inside this opening, and then they push to open. And the idea is you squeeze these fingers tight and try not to allow them to open, and then these two are squeezing to try to open them. And when you ask a question like, is poison good for me? The fingers will open because the muscles go weak. If you ask, is an apple good for me? They tend to stay strong as a rock, because in general, apples are really good for people and poison is really bad. This method of muscle testing is just one of the ways. Some people use a swaying back and forward. Sway forward for yes, sway back for no. I find that the muscle testing is a little harder to learn than the pendulum, and that's why I spend more time talking about the pendulum. The next level is to meet with your spirit guides. I have tracks on my YouTube channel that bring you, that try to set the scene, because it's being done essentially generically. It's not customized to one person for obvious reasons, to bring you to your spirit guide where you can ask questions of the guide. One of the questions that you can ask is more like, will you take my hand and lead me to the original cause, to the origin of this issue that I'm struggling with right now. Now, sometimes they'll lead you right there. Sometimes they want you to do something else first. This is one of the things that I specialize in when I work with my clients. So we use all of these tools. We use the pendulum. We use the client's inner wisdom in the persona, if you will, of their spirit guide. Or for some people, they might be Christian. We might use an ascended master like Mary or Jesus. And we work through the guide to help understand, first of all, what is the root cause of this problem, and then secondly, to resolve that root cause. This is absolutely crucial. It's not just to identify the problem. That's really important. But once you identify the problem, there's something that you need to do about it. You have to heal it. All right, so that's enough of me rambling. Let's see who's here and if there are any questions. 1, 2, 3, opera singer. Oh, Marie Hogan, Waffle Queen. Good to see you guys. Miriam, you're here. Good to see you, Miriam. Marie Hogan, good to see you too. And Mama's Healthy Adventures, it's wonderful to see you. Estelle, shout out to you. Tiffany Smouse, good to see you, Tiffany. And Sabrina is saying, I love your videos. They help me so much with pain and sleep and healing. First time on live chat. Good to hear you say that, Sabrina. I'm so glad that they have helped you, and I'm so glad you're here. And it looks like you might have a question here, which is, my grandfather was Grand Master of the Rosicrucian Order, and he blessed me by opening my third eye when I was 7 years old. And it was amazing in this, he guided me throughout my life. You are blessed. Well, that is so cool, and I would love to talk to you at some point about that. That sounds really, really interesting. 1, 2, 3 opera singer is saying, I am having EMDR, that's rapid eye movement therapy for severe traumas, and it really, really works, I'm telling you. Yeah, absolutely. I have experience myself with EMDR. There's another process that I use called havening, which I think can have some of the same effects on it, but EMDR is very powerful in the hands of the right person, so I'm super glad that it's helping you. Spirit Guide 123, opera singer says, has the same name as my baby. Beautiful. 30-day Jeff, good to see you. Anne, I'm glad you're here. And here is Ajna. I tried hypnosis to find out about my spirit guides, but felt super awake. Could not have 1 minute relaxed or sleepy. Okay, so when you try to meet with your spirit guides, or you try to go into a past lifetime and it's not working for you, what it means is that there's some kind of a block. And remember I said a little while ago that we live in a free will universe. That block is, generally speaking, and maybe arguably always, related back to you. Now remember, you have a distinction between your conscious mind, what your conscious mind thinks, what your conscious mind desires, and your subconscious mind, and what it's thinking, what it's believing, what it's desiring. And when we have a problem, it's usually because these two parts of us are in conflict, right? So the conscious mind wants to get on the airplane, it believes it's a safe way to travel, and the subconscious mind says, no, this is not safe. Let's create rapid heartbeats, sweating under the arms. Let's create a feeling of anxiety. Let's create nausea, because the subconscious mind is viewing you getting on the airplane as some kind of extremely dangerous threat to your survival. Conscious mind doesn't understand this at all, and so the person is kind of trapped between two parts of themselves, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So when you can't go into a past lifetime or you can't meet a spirit guide, it's generally, the most common block is a fear block. Sometimes people are aware of the fear block, kind of like some of those physiological symptoms that I just described of a person that doesn't like to fly in an airplane. They probably don't know why they're having that feeling, but sometimes it's just nothing. They're just seeing all black. And what I have found over many, many years of trial and error is that we have to identify the block first. So you can use a pendulum to identify the block, and you can say, am I as part of me blocking my experience with wanting to meet my spirit guide? If you get a yes, then you can say, is it a fear block? You're probably going to get a yes to that. And there are ways of clearing out that fear block. It sounds ludicrously crazy, simple, easy, and it is, but everything is intention. Close your eyes. I hereby suspend all of my fear for the next 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and say that 3 times. And now you can either go back to the pendulum and say, now that I've cleared the fear block, am I free to meet with my spirit guide? You're almost always going to get a yes if that scenario follows, just as I laid it out. Or you just go right into the regression, and there's your past life, or there's your spirit guide. This is extremely common. It happens a lot. The second reason that you could be blocked is based on something that I've been doing way more work with over the last, say, 4 years, especially in the last 2, and that is spiritual entities attaching to the client. Spiritual entity would be the energetic part of a human being, so you could call it a soul, I suppose, you could call it a spirit. And when a person dies, these two things separate. The body goes into the ground or it's cremated, and then the spirit is supposed to go into the light. Some people might say that's heaven, other people might call it the life between lives, or Valhalla, or Eden, or a million other names. But because we live in a free will universe, the spirit doesn't have to leave, it can stay here. And under certain circumstances, it can attach itself onto a person who has a body. When that happens, we don't really know where the spiritual entity ends and where you begin. How much of your anxiety, how much of your fear, how much of your sense of dread, how much of the things that are blocking you in your life, including weight loss, issues with relationships, psychological issues, finances, it could be caused by a spiritual entity attached to you. It could be exacerbated by a spiritual entity attached to you. They are, like attracts like. So if you're already vibrating at a frequency of, say, some kind of, I'm going to keep using the same example, guilt or shame about something you did in a past lifetime that you're not consciously aware of, then you can be a match for an entity that's floating around looking for a home. On some level, it's all free will. So I'm going to see what other questions we have here. Ajna. But if you have any follow up to that, please ask, because I know I kind of gave you a lot. Let's see. There's Nicole P. Good to see you. And 123 Opera Singer says, I think they're just talking about EMDR, which is cool. Sabrina Fell says, what time and days are you on here live so I can be here to watch you? So I used to do every Friday live, and every so often I would take a couple weeks off. I've kind of moved to doing this, say, once or twice a month. If you get on my email list, I always send out reminders. Now that I'm doing fewer of these, I'll send out a reminder maybe 7 to 10 days before the event, and then send out another one within the 24 to 48 hours before the event. And so in the description of this video, there should be instructions on signing up for my email list. So if you do that, you'll always be alerted, and you'll know what's going on. Let's see, any other questions? People just kind of cross-talking, which is cool. I always like that. 123 Opera Singer says, Peter, I'm saying that karma will catch up in this life or the next. Yeah, 100%. We cannot escape that. And from a spiritual perspective, we don't want to escape karma. That karma is it's kind of a painful teaching tool. It's not designed as punishment. That's my understanding of it. And that if you harmed somebody and you were allowed to essentially skate, then it would be impossible for you to move beyond your current level of consciousness. You wouldn't be able to feel empathy for other people if you were able to just hurt them and move on with things. So in a way, we don't want to escape karma, not that you can. But it seems to be a really powerful tool. And karma can be balanced in 1 minute, or it could be balanced, it could take you 10 lifetimes to balance it. And so much of it is really having that intellectual curiosity and a spiritual openness, and learning some of these tools to, again, kind of diagnose and go from the symptom. The symptom is actually a gift in a way, if you think about it. I mean, nobody wants to feel pain, and me included. But when it happens, if you ask yourself that question, why did this happen? And you have some tools that help you to trace or follow from the symptom back down deeper to its root cause or origin, and that allows you to resolve the root cause or origin. It means you don't have to have that experience anymore. It means that you have grown spiritually in some ways. So this process, I think, is designed, I mean, we all want it, we all want the symptoms to go away, and that's kind of where we focus on when I work with clients. But really, if you think about it, the deeper benefit, the deeper purpose has to do with resolving some old obstacle that was created, that's sitting in your path. And when you resolve it, just the act of resolution raises you up and beyond, probably, than if it had never happened. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Let's see here. Marisela, good to see you. Hi, Peter. How can we interpret our guides' messages like mind images? One time I was shown a beautiful fox in a garden full of flowers. That's an awesome question, Marisela. And what I have learned to do when that kind of thing happens is to just use a search engine, online search engine, and just type in spiritual meaning of fox. And this comes up, as you can imagine, a lot when I'm working in session with people. And when it comes up for them, that's the first thing that I do. I also go through dream analysis with clients, because that's your unconscious mind, perhaps your spirit, that's talking to you without the obstacle, if you will, of your conscious mind being in the way. And they might say, oh yeah, last night, which is usually significant if they have an important dream the night before they're supposed to meet with me. That's often very significant. But they'll tell me dreams. And sometimes at the outset of the dream, I'm not really sure what it means. Like when you said the fox in the beautiful garden. If we typed in what is the spiritual meaning of fox, and I knew you because we were working together, it would probably be like, oh, yeah, this is exactly why this is happening. And I feel like these metaphors are all around us. They're not just in dreams. They're not just in spiritual regressions, but they're actually happening in our lives, right around us. And I feel like with dreams, we're like, oh, it was just a dream, flies over the head. Oh, it was just this thing that happened over there and that guy was a jerk or whatever it was. But to give you an example, I was working with a client on Saturday, almost a week ago tomorrow. Does that make any sense? So tomorrow will be 1 week. How about that? And he was talking about like buying a brand new bed and the bed collapsed in the middle and had this big indentation, and so they had it warranted. The manufacturer, the retailer was like, I can't believe this happened, this never happens. Here, why don't you get this other bed and upgrade to the next level up, which he did. That bed comes in within a certain amount of time, whomp, same problem. And the people at the store, like, they can't figure this out, what the hell is going on? And the story of his life is, get this, no support. And the bed, I think, in a way, I don't know how, is like this metaphor sitting right there, screaming at him, no support. When you buy a bed, they talk about the box spring and they call it the foundation. And they talk about how the bed gives you all of this support and comfort and all through the night and all these coil springs and all blah, 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 support, support, support. He doesn't have any support. And the part of his body that is in pain, that was in pain before the bed started doing this, is the part of the body that's designed to hold everything up. So I really believe, Maricela and everyone else, that these metaphors are all around us. And for me, again, to answer your question directly, that the way that has been the most effective is to go right online and type in spiritual meaning of, in your case, a fox. See what it means. And it's often, almost always, extremely eye-opening when you juxtapose that with where you are in your life right now. The fox probably, my guess is, the fox probably has inherent characteristics that you need. And to give everybody else an example of from my own life, this kind of thing happening, there was a time in my life where I was going through a really difficult problem or time, and I asked my guides, is there an animal that represents something about this situation that I'm going through right now? And what I was expecting was they would show me like a lion, or they would show me a leopard, or they would show me some big, powerful, masculine cat. That's what I really wanted to see. Like, you're strong and you can get through this. And they showed me a frog. Boink, 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 boink. And mentally I kind of pushed the frog away and I said, okay, now I'm ready to see the animal that really represents what I'm going through right now. Come on, leopard. Come on, tiger. Come on, lion. The frog, boink, 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 boink. And so I'm like, okay. And then I asked them, and this is the other thing, you can ask them, what does it mean? I asked them what it means, and what they said was, you're making, the pain you're going through right now represents a spiritual leap forward. And it's so simple, so brilliant, and not attuned to the way we're taught to think about things. And then there was the other part of pushing away the answer. They're giving me the answer, and I am pushing it away. So you can do an internet search on what is the spiritual meaning of whatever that thing that's coming up. Oftentimes I have guides, giving people gifts in the sessions on my YouTube channel or when I work with my clients. The gift has significance, spiritual significance, but you don't always know what that significance is until you either ruminate on it, ask them, or you look it up. The other anecdote I'll give you quickly is that in another time in my life, I was given as a gift a rabbit and a coping saw. Now, coping saw is something that you use like to cut around in a circle, hand cutting around in a circle. And I had no idea what this was. This is before I had this awareness. And then a couple years later, I learned that the spiritual significance of a rabbit is fear. The saw was designed to cut out the fear. The fear is making your life harder. Okay, let's see what else we have here. 123 Opera Singer says, "Oh my God, I love dream analysis. I'm a counselor." Cool, I love it too. And it's amazing how significant it really is. And how it's almost like, I used to be an actor years and years ago. And it's almost like improv. So in improv, you walk out on the stage and you're totally naked. You don't know what's going to happen. You haven't rehearsed anything. There's no script. And I'm not saying I'm a great improviser, but a key component of improv is trusting, remaining calm, and trusting that this alchemy between different people is going to lead you all in the correct direction. And it's the same thing with these dreams. Like sometimes the meaning of a dream will just come because I do this all the time, and then other times it's like I have the slightest idea what's happening or what they're talking about. And then if I just kind of remain calm and we keep talking about this and I look up the meaning of certain things, it's like all of a sudden it's like the last piece falls into place and boom, there it is, right in front of us. And that's what happened last Saturday with this client with no support. And the bed was just one component of everything in his life and the dreams he's been having that had to do with him feeling like he wasn't getting any support. So yeah, super cool. I am with you. Let's see, here is Det says, what are the costs to engage a consultation or session with you? So all that information is available on my website, which is BlueSkyHypnosis.com. BlueSkyHypnosis.com. All that information's on there. My basic rate is $170 an hour, but then there's these other options. So if you do one session and you're like, this is really cool, I want to do more of this, you can buy discounted packages or bundles of hours. But that's where the price is currently. Here is Mimi Bree. Do you have any advice for overcoming past life traumas? Yes, absolutely. So the overcoming a past life trauma is very similar in some ways and different in others from overcoming a present life trauma. And actually, in many ways, it's almost identical now that I think about this. So the first thing that I like to think about is we want to find the problem, right? We want to trace that all the way down. We're doing a past life regression, and we're trying to figure out where and I'm just making all this up because I don't know you, where your fear of abandonment was created. So we go into a past lifetime where you're married to someone, you've got 3 small kids at home, and your husband just gone, complains about you or whatever, and you wake up one day and the husband is gone. Fear of abandonment is created in that moment. So what we're really wanting to do, from my perspective, is we are wanting to heal not your present day self, we're wanting to heal your past life self, because that's where the energy is coming from, right? So you're here minding your own business in your present life, and this energy is echoing through to you from the past, and it's causing you trouble and anxiety, but it's not the root cause. The root cause is what happened to your past life self. So it's almost shamanic in a sense that your present day self, with the help of your guide, so if we were working together, I'd be like a physical guide on this plane, and then we'd have your energetic or spiritual guides on another plane, and we're all going back, we see what happens, and then we collect your past life self, we bring her back to like the present moment, if you will, or the healing space, and we heal her. Now, how we heal her really depends on exactly what happened, and most importantly, how she interpreted it. So she might have interpreted it as, she's not good enough. If that's the case, and almost always what happens is we hurt each other in relationships. We would ask the guides, is the husband ready to apologize for what he did? Did you do something to him to drive him away? If that was the case, we would want to have you apologize to him and then him apologize to you. In other words, there to be some kind of reconciliation through forgiveness. And then having your past life self disgorge the energy of sadness, the energy of abandonment, whatever else is tied in around that. I wasn't good enough, guilt, shame, whatever it is, low self-esteem. We would want to have her give over all of that energy, because it's like we carry this with us. It's like it lives in our cells. Even when we don't have a physical body, it still lives energetically and it's passed through to us. So by her resolving those problems in this past lifetime, and with her healing and her changing, it means she's not going to be echoing through to you something that's of a low vibration, something that's painful. She's going to be echoing through to you now something that's way more empowering, that's healthy, that's healed. Then we also ask the guide, is it highest and best for your past life self to go into the light, or is it highest and best for her to dissolve and integrate into you so the two of you can become one? So really long way of answering a simple question that you asked me, but it has to do with resolving whatever went wrong in the past, because the past is still alive. You know, just look at quantum physics. Listen to a quantum physicist talk and they'll say there's no such thing as time. Time is an artifact of a planet turning on its own axis and rotating around the sun. There's no time, which means that traumas that happened in the past, whether they happened when you were 10 years old in this lifetime or they happened 5 lifetimes ago, are still alive if they have not been resolved. And the resolution, in my opinion, is always built around forgiveness. Forgiving other people for what they did to you, being forgiven for what you did to them, and then most importantly, because it's the most powerful, forgiving yourself. So great question. Sorry for the long answer. Hopefully it made sense. All right. Let's see. Just scrolling down here, looking for another question. Sabrina says karma is a cleansing. It functions as a cleansing. That's for darn sure. Painful, but indeed true. Mimi says, I've also heard that we map out our lives before we're born. Yes, yes, yes. Now I can't help thinking every person I've met is guiding me to fulfilling my purpose. I think that that's actually true, Mimi. I think, you know how, go back to actors and acting, that every scene in a play, every scene in a movie is advancing the action. And it's all being advanced around the protagonist. You know, the protagonist is kind of the sun in the center, and all of the planets of the other characters are orbiting around the protagonist. And I suppose that if we really want to get deep into this, that you could make any character in the play the protagonist. It's just the playwright's choice or the scriptwriter's choice who's going to be the protagonist. And that what's being orbited around is from the perspective of what planet you're standing on. And that, as I said, every scene is advancing the action to come to a resolution. And that you don't have a play, you don't have a movie unless you have conflict. And so, in some senses, the greater the conflict, the greater the pain, probably the bigger the message that you have to learn or to understand. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Alrighty. Gertrude Hill, hello Gertrude, good to see you. Yep, time change. All right, you'll get it next time, no problem. I do that too. Raina says, so happy to have watched one of your videos on hypnosis. I've been trying for about a year now, and your video was the only one that worked. I was a monk in 1407, humble as can be. Definitely explains why I'm the reason or the way I am. Well, thank you for that, Raina, and I'm really, really thrilled that worked for you, and thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. It means a lot, honestly. Here is Ksenia. That's a beautiful name. Wow, that's cool. Let's see. Fox is motherly. Are you trying to get pregnant? That's kind of cool. Or is there some issue with your mom in this life? I guess that could be the other thing. Maricela says, so true. Thank you. You're welcome, Maricela. Here is Ajna. I used a pendulum and got a yes about if there is a spirit guide near, and also about the fear block. Okay, so cool. So now that you know that there's a fear block, what I would next do is what I suggested before. Before you're ready to start the session, get yourself centered, take a nice deep breath, be in a comfortable place where you feel at ease, where you feel safe. At a time of day when you feel like you're at your best, which is the morning. It seems to be the morning that we're at our spiritual best. We haven't collected all this garbage during the day that we then offload at night. And then just say with your eyes closed 3 times, I hereby suspend. Important word. You're not saying get rid of, eliminate, whatever. All you're saying is I'm just going to suspend it. I'm just going to put it off to the side for this period of time. I hereby suspend all my fear for the next 60 minutes. It's easier for the subconscious mind to kind of stand down and say, okay, I know I don't feel totally safe, but if you want this for 60 minutes, I can give you that. Just say that 3 times and then go into the session. And my experience is that this pretty much almost always works. Now, you can, if you want to, take a step after you do that and say, with the pendulum, now that I have suspended my fear for the next 60 minutes, is this a good time for me to have a successful past life regression? So you could do that step if you wanted to, or you could just go right into the past life. But cool. All right. Maricela says, no, I have 2 children. So it's about mothering. So what is it about mothering that it's teaching you? The next thing I guess would be, I think you said it was in a garden. If you remember what kind of flowers are there, or if there's a spiritual meaning to a garden. I mean, I would assume that the spiritual meaning, I don't know this, but I would assume the spiritual meaning to a garden is a place where there is growth, where we are cultivating growth. And so does not a mother do that with her children? Does she not cultivate the growth of children? Do we not call early school kindergarten? Who knows? It's pretty cool though, isn't it? I mean, I get very excited and a little goofy about this. Let's see, Raina says, during your hypnosis video, I got a golden apple. And I was like, really, an apple? But when the hypnosis was over, I looked it up and this is what I received. You are 100% red and it fits perfect in my life. That is awesome. That's really cool. All right, just checking our time here. And Raina says, in ancient mythology, the apple is one of the most sacred trees and symbolizes good health and future happiness. I think it also symbolizes, I think it symbolizes knowledge or wisdom. And that has to do with the Garden of Eden and Adam eating from the apple. And then the fact that it's gold has to mean something too. You can look up gold and see what gold symbolizes or means. Let's see, 123 opera singer said she got, or he got, not sure which, a green apple once from a tutor who was a shamanic healer, which is awesome. Okay, so this is pretty powerful here. Gosh, it's so hard to see this. I was raped as a child, and now I'm going to specialize in rape as a counselor. Funny how things work out. It's amazing, right? I mean, who could imagine? When pain is deep and powerful and pleasant and something all of us humans understand to some degree, that at some point in the future that you would become an alchemist and you would alchemize pain and you would mulch it and you would transmute it, transform pain into healing for yourself and for other people. I can't imagine anything right now that's more powerful than that, than taking something that happens to you that's painful and finding some way of like I said, like an alchemist, changing the properties of that around and turning it into something positive, turning it into something healing. It's so beautiful and very impressive. Thank you for sharing that with us. And here's Miriam. Hello, Miriam. Through my past life regression on another planet, I was thereafter coming across the concept of starseeds, especially the Pleiadians. Do you believe starseeds are here living on Earth? The first thing I would say is kind of a disclaimer, which is I think I know very little about other planets and about what we might call extraterrestrials. I think, I believe Jesus said something like in the Bible, he said something like, I am in this planet, but I am not of this planet. Meaning, I'm not originally from here. I'm just spending time here, and I think that's probably true for all of us. I think, in a sense, that the Earth is our home right now. Maybe in the way that a college dorm is our home for a semester, or I guess some people might be in the same dorm for all 4 years. But it's still temporary. Even if it's 4 years, it's temporary. And in this lifetime, which in the scheme of things is very short, I think it's a school. I don't think that this is our permanent home. And I do think that we probably spend time in other realms. And that some people come here for different purposes. To bring what they know from other experiences to assist the rest of humanity. So yeah, long way of saying I do believe in starseeds, but the disclaimer is I don't know very much at this point in my development about that topic, about other planets and about what we might call aliens and so forth, UFOs and so forth. But it's something that comes up. It comes up from time to time, but it's not my area of expertise at the moment. All right, thanks for the question. So here is Det says, where do we purchase these pendulums? So, any store that sells like incense and specializes in things that are spiritually related, books and so on, usually will have these pendulums. You can also buy them online, and you don't actually have to have a formal pendulum like this. You can have a necklace that has a pendant on it. That will work just fine. You can have, I once, everything is on Zoom now. I work with people on Zoom, and I once had a person, and sometimes people are sitting in their car because it's just more comfortable for them, or they're at the office and they run out to their car and it becomes like their little mobile office. And I once had a person who just took a piece of dental floss and tied a ring to it. Got a pendulum. You could have a piece of string tied to a nut or washer. It all works perfectly fine. All right. I'm going to take maybe one or two more questions before we're almost at the hour. But I just want to thank everybody for showing up. I mean, I know that my schedule is a little wonky at this point. It's not the every Friday, and it's just so great to see familiar faces, familiar names showing up, and to have new people coming, and to have people so open, like 123 Opera Singer, sharing their own experiences, how she transformed pain into such beautiful healing. So thank you all. I really, really appreciate your participation. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Oh, here is David Hudson. And David is saying, I wanted to learn to become a past life regressionist. What do you recommend to get started? So that's a really good question. My training was in 2006. And I guess I'll plug the school I went to because I really, really liked it a lot. It was the most in-depth school I could find, because hypnosis is kind of the Wild West. You can get certified remotely, you can get certified in a couple of weekends, or it can be this much more intensive thing. And I wanted something that was much more intensive. And at the time it was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's now in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it was I think I was like 7 weeks was the training I went through. and it's called the Hypnotherapy Academy of America. And I learned the nuts and bolts of hypnosis. There was a lot of training in neuro-linguistic programming, and we learned how to do present life regression. So the focus was on what I believe, which is regression to cause. What I was saying before about finding the root cause. And the leap from doing a regression from, say, if you're 35 years old now and we regress you back to being 5 years old, it's very similar to regressing you to a past lifetime. So I think I would recommend that you start with a good, solid, fundamental class on hypnosis, have that grounding, and then take more of the electives that are available to learn specifically about past life regression. That would be my advice, rather than just jumping right into doing past life regression. I don't think you would ever regret that if you did it that way. Let's see, here is Anne. Anne Crone says, hey Peter, my daughter has extreme anxiety and thinks she has entities. Can she work on that herself, or does she need help? Well, the first thing that occurs to me is you could have her watch the pendulum video, and she could use a pendulum to ask the question. She just has to be really sure when she's using the pendulum, is my higher self controlling this pendulum now, fully and completely, for my greatest and highest good? If she gets a no to that, it means that the entities may be interfering with her answers, and we don't want corrupted answers. But if she's able to get clean answers from the pendulum, she could ask. She could say, is it highest and best for me to remove these entities on my own? If she gets a yes, she can move forward with that. If she gets a no, then she could say, is it highest and best for me to work with Peter? Is it highest and best for me to work with Sally Smith? That might be a way forward. Another thing she could try is I have a 2-part video series. It's getting a little old in the tooth. I think I need to remake it, but it still works for a lot of people on my YouTube channel, which is BlueSky Hypnosis. Subscribe if you haven't. And the first in the series on removing the spiritual attachments just describes what it is and how we go about it. And then part 2 is actually removing them. It's kind of guiding you to remove it. And again, for some people, it works really, really well, and for other people, it does not work. So those are 2 suggestions that might help her. You know, again, if she's getting clean answers with the pendulum, she would want to ask, do I have any spiritual entities attached to me and or to my being? Because if she gets a no, and we know that these answers are clean, then something else is going on. If she gets a yes, then we would want to know how many entities are attached to her. Right? If I were working with her, I'd want to know how many entities are attached, and did she know any of these entities in her present life? And might even ask, is she ready to remove some or all of the entities? So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any other questions, or if she has any other questions, feel free to send me an email or reach out to me. You can find it on my website, BlueSkyHypnosis.com, the contact information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that either of you may have. All right. Christine, hello Christine. Practicing self-care, getting a pedicure, and listening to Peter's wisdom. What could be better? That is so sweet. Dolores says, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Dolores. Glad you're here. So Raina says, wow, I'm from Taos, New Mexico. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it is cool. Look into that if you're interested. Really good people, I think, anyway. I had a great experience. Det says, did your spirit guide hypnosis and my spirit guide's name, Gloria, came to me, and now I have an open dialogue with Gloria. Thanks. Good life, long life. Yeah, to you too. To you too. All right, folks. Let's see. It says here, your feather is blowing behind you. My phone auto-corrected to father. Does that mean anything to you? I'm not really sure. I think I'd have to talk to you about that one. And everybody keep in mind too that I offer a free 20-minute phone call on my website for people who might be interested in having a session. You don't have to have a session. You can just have the call if you want. And that's on the homepage. There's a link to it on BlueSkyHypnosis.com. So thank you again, everybody, for turning up, for asking such great questions, making such great comments, for supporting each other. And I hope you will check your email and see when the next one is coming up, which I'm sure will be in the next couple of weeks. So have a wonderful weekend, and blessings to you all, and we'll see you on the next Live at 5. Bye.